Good evening, I'm Bo Williams, and welcome to The 7. Let's get a look at the big 7 stories right now. At the top of the list for us, getting answers about why it can be tough to bring low-income housing to rural parts of East Tennessee. Those housing options are sorely needed pretty much everywhere in the state. But yesterday, we heard from State Representative Jeremy Faison about some specific challenges for rural communities. There's a contrast with more urban areas like here in Knoxville, where we've seen some high-profile, low-income apartments or mixed-income developments put up over the years, and where we've seen overhauls to existing affordable communities. Developers are offered an incentive to build low-income housing. In Tennessee, the incentive has been added to the overall value of the property, meaning they have to pay taxes on it. Faison has introduced a bill now that would extend the period during which developers can be exempt from paying real property taxes when developing affordable housing, which could in turn stop the taxing of the incentive. David Hayes is a developer in Jefferson County and says being exempt from that tax would make way for more affordable housing in rural areas.
It ends up then, quite often you'll end up in our biggest operating expense will just be property taxes. And in a lot of cases, one of our developments would be paying more in property taxes than a fancy market rate.
If the bill passes, it would go into effect on July 1st. Faison says we could then see more affordable housing in rural areas by next year. Another development story in our Big 7 list for you, some Townsend residents not happy with plans for a new hotel coming to the city. Yonder Development, which changed its name to Upland, is hoping to build the hotel. Now, recently, the Planning Commission approved the development as a hotel. Tommy McAvoy is one of several Townsend residents pushing back on the plans. She tells us the city is not against tourism, it's welcome. Rather, McAvoy feels this development takes away some aspects of why people visit the city.
We don't want an outdoor movie theater playing music and loud things until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. We want people to be able to come in and enjoy the river, the hiking, our bears. If they rezone 27 acres, we've lost habitat for sure, 2 mothers and cubs that we know exist on that 27 acres.
McAvoy tells us a petition online has garnered more than 4,000 signatures against this development. As for what's next, we spoke with the Townsend City Manager, Danny Williamson. He tells us the Planning Commission has approved the plans based on 3 contingencies. Once the developer fulfills those contingencies, they'll have to come back to the Planning Commission and present updated plans. Now, we have reached out to developers from Upland. So far, we have not received a response. Our next Big 7 story takes us up to Laurel County, Kentucky. That is where a woman now faces murder charges in the shooting death of her own husband. According to law enforcement, 59-year-old Yolanda Lamelli called 911. This was around 5:30 last night to report that her husband had been shot and was possibly dead. When officers arrived, they found Manuel Lamelli Jr. dead on the scene from an apparent gunshot wound. Yolanda was arrested and faces charges for murder and tampering with physical evidence. The county's Major Crimes Task Force is still investigating what led up to this incident. Our list rolls on now with a big fine. Federal labor regulators say the company was breaking child labor rules with 10 kids subjected to what the Labor Department is calling oppressive child labor. U.S. Department of Labor is ordering Tough Torque to turn over $1.5 million in profits and pay almost $300,000 in fines. The manufacturer is accused of illegally employing several children in dangerous jobs at its Morristown facility. We're told the proceeds paid by Tough Torque will be used for the benefit of the children. Now, we're getting answers about a weekend crash in our next Big 7 story for you tonight, learning that it claimed the life and sent 3 people to the hospital. You see some of the pictures here behind me from that scene. The crash happening early Sunday morning on Tipton Station Road in Knox County. And according to the sheriff's office, a car heading east lost control, ended up on its side, hit a utility pole, then a tree. The driver had to be cut from the wreckage. The passenger was thrown out and died at the scene. That person was 23-year-old Skylar Myers from Mascot. We're told charges are pending against the driver. Meanwhile, 2 teenagers now face charges over a deadly crash that we first told you about on Friday. Alcoa police say the 16-year-olds were the driver and passenger in a truck that allegedly ran a red light Friday morning. According to a police spokesperson, the truck then hit a car going south on Hall Road. The driver of that car, 19-year-old Madison Hess, died at the hospital. After the wreck, police say the teens and the truck ran off, and police learned the truck was stolen. A scam alert tonight in our next Big 7 at 7 for you. Knoxville police warning about fraudulent parking tickets after a fake citation was left on a person's car this week. Take a look at the ticket. Looks fairly authentic, but KPD tells us it's not a real Knoxville police citation. So far, as we understand it, only one person has reported receiving a fake ticket, but police are now worried that more could be out there. So if you receive a ticket that looks something like this one or that just seems suspicious, make sure you call Knoxville Municipal Court to verify that it is indeed a real citation before paying any fines. And we're wrapping up the Big 7 list with damage done by strong winds overnight. Rangers sharing some of these pictures of trees knocked down onto roadways and trails around the park. We're told crews were out checking those conditions, clearing those trees off those roadways, working to open the roads, but only once it is safe to do so. Now, just in the last couple of hours, Newfound Gap Road reopened. The Gatlinburg bypass also is now open, so they are making some progress.